Welcome to Retina South Africa's Retinal Realities, brought to you today thanks to Roche Products. Our host today is Karen, and we have a young guest who has wise words for many people with diabetic retinopathy. Kaylin was working as a rep when she received this life-altering diagnosis. Well, Kaylin bravely took on the new challenges that threatened to disrupt her very existence. She is here to tell us how, in a relatively short time, she has steered her way around daunting obstacles to a new and fulfilling life. Kaylin, as we begin, could you please describe the moment you were diagnosed with diabetic retinopathy, and what were some of your very first steps in adapting to this unexpected change in vision?
Hi, good day, Gordon. Thanks for having me today. I think the moment that I was diagnosed with this, and I think when I found out about it, it wasn't initially from the ophthalmologist. He told me this is what the problem is in terms of having diabetic retinopathy. When it hit me is when I failed to pass my driver's license. That is when everything in my life had changed. I was dismissed from my job. Being a rep was the only job I've ever known for my entire career life. When that happened, it felt like my world had been flipped upside down, which in hindsight it was, and I'm not mad about it now. For a couple of months, I was very down and out about it, reaching out to different support groups and people just to find out how I'm supposed to adapt, especially in terms of getting a job post losing my position. I think that was the thing that shook me the most, was I was just disregarded from what I was doing. The steps that I took from there was to seek help, support groups like Helen Keller, Retina SA, Blind SA. There's different groups that I've since joined, and a lot of them has been quite supportful in terms of what they do and just advising me. And I remember in the very beginning, the groups that I joined, we used to have specifically Helen Keller. Every Friday, once a month, they'd have a meeting where we check in, and I was always the youngest person in the groups. And I remember one of the people said, "You sound very ambitious and you want to go for things and you a little bit impatient." All of this, very true. He just said, he told me, it takes time. You're going to have to take time to adjust, to accept, and you shouldn't be this hard on yourself. I think the way he explained it to me was just, you need to be patient and you need to be okay with yourself first before you're trying to go out and do anything. And I didn't at the time understand. Looking back now, it makes more sense in terms of having to adjust. And in today's life, I go out, and if I can't see and something is a problem, I ask. I've got no issue asking for help. Even if I'm in a shop and I can't see something, I'll tap the person next to me to ask for assistance. So I've grown a lot since, but initially, yeah, my world flipped upside down in terms of what I knew, job, everything. I was at home for a couple of months. It was quite daunting, to say the least.
I can imagine it must have been a very, very scary and very frustrating time for you. And I see that now you're enrolling to study at UNISA, and you're also working with the Tandeka Vocational Education Trust. What specifically drew you to the vocational education arena, and how has the trust supported your professional journey?
So I was actually invited to send my CV to Tandeka for an assistant facilitator post for a class with PWD learners, which is persons with disability. And I thought that's quite lovely, given that now I'm labeled disabled, if you will. And I agreed to this. I had also taught English overseas before, and then that is how I got invited to do that. Because they said the salary is not anything wonderful, but maybe just something for me to do. And I said yes, I'd love to, just to deal with people with disabilities, to find out how they are adapting to their disabilities that some of them have had their entire life. I then sent my CV through. The HR manager got in contact with me and she said, I actually see that you've studied. I studied marketing. She said, you've studied marketing and this is the work that you've done throughout your life. We're actually looking for a student liaison person / marketing. Are you willing to go forward for that? So I said, yeah, absolutely. I said, at this point, because I've only ever been a rep, I was unsure of how I would be in any other role. So I agreed to that and I said, absolutely, yes. It wasn't long, a couple of months. It was on a contract basis. I've since become permanent as a student liaison officer / project assistant / receptionist. There's a lot that I do at Tandeka. The team is absolutely phenomenal. Never once has anybody looked at me as you've got an issue. In the very beginning, nobody knew that I was visually impaired, legally blind. And they would say, why are you sitting so close to the computer screen? You're going to hurt your eyes. And I'm like, the eyes are already hurt, guys. I'm legally blind. It took people a while to let this sink in because the way that I do things and how I carry myself, they would never say that something was wrong. But I also would like to give credit to them for the fact that from the get-go, they've never passed judgment. They are always wanting to see, do you need anything to make your job a little bit better? So I spend quite a bit of time in front of a screen, but the screen is quite large in itself. And I said, no, the screen is fine. What I do use on the screen is magnifiers if need be, but it's not often. Most times I'll walk around the college without glasses on. So what I do, I also put together the learner's material. And when I do that, I remember one of the ladies said, when I was doing something, she said, you're very OCD about things. I said, it's not that I'm OCD, I can't see, and I pack things in order so that when I'm doing it, this is why I look this way. And she was like, oh, I didn't know. And then she said, I just thought you were very OCD. So I said, no, I'm not. If I need to count, and there's 10 in every stack and I'm putting it together, then I know if there's a module that's still left, then it means that one of the packs don't have that module. And if there's one under, it means one of the packs have an extra module. So I've learned to deal with things in a different way. But the team in itself has been very, very supportive. And they're also PWD learners. And the facilitators there also said, because they spend a lot of time with them, they said, we don't say people with disabilities, it's people that's differently able. So their outlook on how disabled people, if you will, should be treated has been quite nice for me. And like I said, losing my other job and coming into this definitely helped in making me feel like a normal person, if you will.
Of course, you're a normal person. And yes, you've already given us quite a few lessons there, just amazing. And that leads me on to think, what aspect of your work, either with the students or the projects that you do or whatever you do, gives you the most sense of reward or inspiration day to day?
I think I enjoy my whole job. The students is definitely a standout for me. So being in vocational education trust, it's a private sector, if you will. So what they do is they take on students that comes from previously disadvantaged backgrounds, and they are then taught a skill. So we're within the clothing manufacturing sector. So you're taught a skill and you go into workplace experience as well, where the aim is to get you into a job. I think the most rewarding thing for me has been when you going to school and let's say the first day. So I'm with these learners, but from start, so you're phoning the learners to say, guys, you've been accepted, classes start next week, for example. They will come in first day one, very scared. After 1 month, 2 months in, the confidence that these students bring with them, it's phenomenal. Some of the stories that I hear, like I had a learner that came to class once and I said, you late, what's wrong? So no, ma'am, I was robbed. And then they said, no, we went home, got more money and came back. So their determination for wanting to do and better themselves was very inspirational. And I think with the PWD learners as well. That for me was also quite eye-opening and inspirational, in a sense of, okay, you have this disability, but you have not let anything put you down. So you come into class, you're showing up, you're putting in the effort, and you are employed at the end of the day. And we do with the college, it's from 18 to 33, so youth program initiative. So it's young students. And I mean, this happened to me when I was 35. So for a whole life, I'd been one way, and now, okay, I have to learn with being visually impaired, where some of these students, this has been a lifelong thing. And the smiles on their faces and how they carry themselves, for me, quite inspirational.
Oh, that's absolutely wonderful. And Helen, I believe that everything always has a bit of a silver lining. And I think that for you, with your diagnosis and landing yourself originally without a job and now into something so meaningful, must be incredibly rewarding for you. It's been a blessing in disguise, in fact.
For me, I think so, yes. I absolutely do. It's the first job I've had where I'm at one place the entire day. My entire career life, like I said, I've been a rep. So you're always driving around between office, clients, suppliers, all of those things. Yeah, I'm stationed in one place, which is odd for me. My parents drop and fetch me,
Okay.
or I take an Uber. But I mean, and now, yes, it's very rewarding, very fulfilling. And because there's a turnaround of students and different students that are coming in and their personalities, yeah, 100% rewarding. And I think a massive blessing in disguise, if you will. I had a conversation with somebody else that's also got eye issues, and she said somebody asked us if she could see, would she take the option? And she said, I don't think so, because I love my life in the way that it is. And I did it. This was also in the very beginning of my diagnosis. And I thought, that's so strange. But now I get it. I understand. I'm like, I've learned so much things being visually impaired and how to adapt, and just dealing with yourself and how other people perceive you. And most importantly, how you perceive yourself. So, yeah, life changing, but I think in a good way.
Absolutely. And that's so heartwarming to hear. And
Thanks.
then based on that, if somebody's listening today to this podcast who's recently been diagnosed, maybe with diabetic retinopathy or any other form of vision loss, what is the single most important piece of advice that you feel that you would like to offer them?
Oh, I think the thing that I maybe lacked and what other people put in me is to believe in yourself and trust yourself. There's moments where you are literally in the dark, and it's okay. I feel what you're feeling, but understand that this is not the end of everything. There are people, organizations, family, friends that are in your corner and they want to assist. Don't give up. And my thing is, if you going in search for answers and you ask somebody or somewhere or some organization and you don't like the answer, I can guarantee you that another place, another organization or situation will give you the answer that you are looking for. So don't give up at the first no. It just means not right now. Keep going. The main thing, believe in yourself. It's difficult, but it comes from you. Just wake up, and every day, it's day by day, you make the conscious decision. You know what, today I'm going to do, and I'm going to be differently. Even if it's one thing, I'm going to talk to one person that I didn't before about what I'm going through. Or for yourself, I play games with myself with my eyes. Okay, what is there? And I walk away. Can you see it? Just for your own mind's sake, because somebody said, oh, I'm visually impaired, legally blind, low vision. I might pick your choice of words. I'm still a person, as you pointed out earlier on. I am still a normal person, just a bit differently able, but I can do and be anything as any other person besides a brain surgeon, but that's okay.
Exactly. Or maybe not a pilot.
Or pilot.
Okay. That's absolutely wonderful and beautiful advice. Thank you so much. And thank you so much, Kaylin, for sharing your amazing story so generously. And I'm sure that everybody listening to you today has been inspired to start living, if not already a full life, a fuller life. In your words, do what you love, just do it differently. It's
Absolutely.
amazing.
Karin,
And then,
thank you very much for having me. And I do hope that what I have to say does inspire people. Thank you for having me.
well, I feel inspired, so I'm sure everybody else will as well. And then we'd like to thank Roche Products South Africa yet again for so generously sponsoring these podcasts. And to everyone listening, please remember to subscribe to the series by clicking on the subscribe button on this page. This will help to keep this very popular series going. All our podcasts are available on www.retinasa.org.za under the tab Learn. Thank you.